Hi, this is Rachel DeMille from TJEd.org, and I'm delighted to bring to you our second video in the Introduction to TJEd series. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this is really helpful for you as these things have helped us. Today we're going to talk about the 6-point plan for a family reset. Now this is something that a lot of people call a detox or deschooling. I like to call it a reset because for me it's more important to keep these principles in mind because it's not just for when you're coming out of a situation where the children aren't thriving in school. It's for any time the family has a big change that you want to kind of come back together, reset, so that the family dynamic is harmonious, the relationships are sound, and everybody's in a good and solid place so that they can love life and love learning. To start off, let's talk about some of the questions that I hear a lot. Sometimes people ask me, what curriculum should I use for my 10-year-old for geography? Or my 5-year-old doesn't hold her pencil correctly. Or my 17-year-old hates math. My 17-year-old hates me. My 10-year-old hates everything about learning. These questions represent a pain point for the parent and for the child that they want to resolve so that they can move on and continue to homeschool successfully. But it turns out that usually these questions reflect a deeper problem. They are just a symptom. They're sort of the tip of an iceberg. And the good news is the fix is not only fairly simple, it is joyful. It is peaceful. It is the kind of thing that makes everything about your home better. So let's talk about the 6-point plan for a family reset. For most families, I think that the two most important things are having solid relationships so that the teaching and learning can take place effectively, and secondly, to have the home environment be conducive to the kind of learning that you want to take place. The questions we started with aren't bad questions, they're actually really good questions. It's just that they're out of order. You need to get some other things in place in order to address those things effectively. So, the 6-point plan. Number 1, simplify. When you start with simplification, it makes everything else make sense. You don't have quite so many noises, so many voices distracting you and pulling you away, trying to tell you that you should want this or you should do that, or nagging you and robbing you of your peace when you start with simplify. Now, what do I mean by simplify? There's really two ways in which you can and should simplify. First is your external space. Look around. It's really hard to feel good about your homeschooling if you're not at peace in your space. It's so much nicer when you can have things that are a little more orderly. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, when you have kids that are learning and playing at home all day long, there are going to be little fun messes that happen. I'm not looking for a situation where there's everything in its place all the time. But you know what I'm talking about. If you're someone that deals with too much stuff, too much chaos, it robs you of your peace and your confidence. So simple thing to do, just get a box and stick it in the, just outside in your garage, by the front door, in the trunk of your car, whatever makes sense for you. And as you go through the day, if you find something that no longer serves your family, maybe it's clothing that is damaged or not the right size or out of season and it's not going to be useful next time, put it in the box so that next time you go to town, you can take it to donate at a Goodwill box or at a thrift store or whatever. Or if it just needs to be thrown away, have another box that's things that's just for thrown away. If you will make a habit of looking for things that can leave, little by little, you'll find that your space starts to clear up. Ask yourself, is this really serving our needs? Is this really what I want? Is this something that I want to spend my time and my energy on caring for? If the answer is, I'm not sure, maybe put that aside in a special place that's to decide later, but it's out of your way and it's not creating chaos. So the other part of simplify, now that you've got a plan for simplifying your space, and let me say on simplifying your space, some people do what we call a purge, where they just devote maybe 2 weeks' time to really getting down into the deep parts of under beds and in closets and drawers and get rid of everything that doesn't really serve the family anymore and would be better off somewhere else. And then you come out with a completely new house. That's a wonderful thing to do. In fact, I recommend it, for the type of person that tends to collect, and I'm one of those. Doing that like every 6 months is a wonderful practice, and it's one of the things that we recommend in our book, The Phases of Learning. By doing this little by little, you'll find that there's a lot more, you feel more in control, and you feel more confident, and you feel more peace. And the kids will enjoy it too. One of the biggest obstacles to this can be the kids, or our guilt about dealing with the kids stuff. We don't want to get rid of this and we don't want to get rid of that. If they have a whole bunch of things that they've created, take pictures of them. Create a special book. You don't have to keep every work of art because you've got the artist. So just keep a record of the things that are treasures, but you don't have to have the physical copy of every last thing. Donate it to move on in the world and say, thank you, that was wonderful. Now we claim our peace, our space. By having that kind of space, you're going to be amazed at the things that can happen. All of a sudden, you'll find your children playing together more peacefully, more constructively in the floor space that used to not be there, or in the reading nook that you created by clearing out that window place. Anyway, you'll find little things that start to happen more positively as everyone enjoys the feeling of that peace the physical order brings. But there's another kind of simplify, and that is simplifying your time. I recommend that as you go about this reset, ask yourself, maybe even write it down. When I had to do this several years ago, I was having some health challenges, and I'm not the best one to say no. And so I had taken on too much. I had too many commitments, wearing too many hats. And my husband said, you know what, you're headed for a crash if you don't get this under control. So he sat down with me and we literally wrote down every single one of my roles, my commitments on a strip of paper. We tore off little strips, wrote it out, and we set them all down in front of me. And by externalizing that so I could look at it out in front of me, it was really easy for me to see that I was saying yes to things that were more than I could do. And in the process, I was saying no to my physical strength, my mental peace, my ability to cope with challenges, my just disposition of being pleasant on the simple things. So by simplifying my time and saying no to some of those things, some of them I had to kind of plan a no, give people advance notice. I'm opting out of this. By this time you need to replace me. Some of them I just had to make a hard choice and say, this was right for a time, but it's starting to creep in on my personal capital. It's eating away at my ability to function correctly and my body to recuperate. So I had to make hard choices. If you're in a place where you have too much on your plate, or even if you just sort of have a little bit too much on your plate, if you'll take the time to externalize it and make deliberate decisions about each one of them, you will free up your time considerably. Why does this matter? Not just for the peace, not just for the joy of not feeling overwhelmed all the time, but by not having all of your time accounted for, by having little vacancies in your schedule, all of a sudden magic starts to happen. When the little one crawls up into your lap and says, read this, guess what you get to say? Yes. When someone says, hey, should we just drop everything and go to the lake today? You can say yes. You can say yes to so many more things when you leave space around you and in your time. So simplify, simplify, simplify. This will create opportunities and the right kind of vacuum so that you can say yes. Point number 2, family reading. Now, this one is near and dear to my heart because in our family, we've had so many transformational experiences in family reading. It's such a joy to have that shared experience. We're all tuned into the same thing. The little ones might not be paying very much attention, but they've got little quiet things they can do out in the middle of the floor. And maybe there's this one or that one has handwork or doodling or something that they're building with Legos. As long as they can keep their hands busy, as long as their mouths are quiet. And then magic happens. And you can stop and say, you know what? This reminds me of when you were little. And you get to stop and share a little anecdote that makes that little heart just warm and feel so special, and everyone else has warm, fuzzy feelings about that one person. Or, hey, you know what? When my grandmother was a child, this happened to her, and then you kind of tie something in from that. Or you stop and say, you know what this makes me think of? And you can share something from maybe current events or another book that you read, and you just kind of bring your feelings and your thoughts into it. And it naturally sort of evolves into conversations about things that matter. And by having these little moments, sometimes you're reading along and your throat gets a little tight, and your eyes get a little moist, and your voice catches while you're trying to read, and all of a sudden all the eyes are on you, and the kids are like poking each other. Look at mom, look at dad. And they notice that you're having an emotional connection with what's happening in the story there. Their hearts open just a little bit more. And sometimes you have to pass the book to someone else to keep reading, and they get to carry it on that torch. Can you see the kind of magic that happens with family reading? And it's interesting to find that some of the best books for reading for young people never grow old. One time recently, we were reading Charlotte's Web for I don't know the umpteenth time, because we have a lot of kids. We have 8 kids, and we were reading it again for our youngest 2. My adult daughter, who was away at college but happened to be back for the weekend, walked past. She realized what we were doing, and she stopped for a minute. And after a minute more, she sat down. And little by little, all of my older kids that were in the house at the time settled down to come and enjoy the reading of that story, because that shared experience has layers. And when you read from the classics, every time you return to them, there's more value, more lessons, more insights. And each time that you go back to it, you come from a new place. So your insights are relevant to the here and the now. Sometimes you just do it for 10 minutes, and just 2 to 3 times a week really makes a huge difference. So number 2 is family reading. Number 3 is core phase fun. Now in our next video, we're going to talk about the phases of learning, one of which is core phase. But without stealing the thunder from that content, let me just explain that core phase is the time when we're little and we're just getting started deciding where we are in the world, who we are, how we relate within the family, what's right, wrong, good, bad, what really matters. Those are the core phase lessons. And the way that a child learns at this phase is through work together and play together. Now, when you're doing a family reset, going back to those core phase activities together, even with the big kids, is amazing. Give them a free rein or challenge them to a contest or whatever. But if you do these things that are part of being a little child, it kind of brings them out of that hardened shell that they may have created to protect themselves from a place where they weren't thriving, or a situation where there was conflict, and perhaps they were bullied, or they felt like they were stupid or whatever. You take them out of that space and just turn back the clock to where everything was simple and play was the work of a child. If you have these core phase experiences as a family, and there's so many things you can do. You can go on a nature walk and collect leaves. You can just go enjoy the sunset together. Just doing the simple things that a child loves to do. And it really opens the heart, softens the heart, and starts to reestablish the connections from back when everything was fine and healthy. And then you can kind of start fresh and move forward from there. So that's core phase fun, and we'll talk more about that in the next video. And also you can look at our book, The Phases of Learning, which goes into a lot of detail on how to not only carry off a great core phase and love of learning phase and scholar phase, but how to kind of renegotiate lost lessons if those things didn't go right the first time through. Number 4, group activities. Now this one kind of springs out of the last one. And the idea behind this one is when you're trying to reset, and particularly when you are wanting to detox or de-school from a more regimented learning environment, a lot of times you get a student or a child who is very accustomed to having all of their time accounted for, where they're supposed to do this, and then they're supposed to do that, and they answer to bells, and they answer to assignments. And so they get sort of regimented in their thinking and very dependent on that kind of schedule. I liken it to being in a play. I used to be in drama when I was in high school, and especially the last week before the performance, it's like you're living every moment for that play. Every free moment you're in rehearsals, or you're building sets, or you're running through this, or you're fixing that. And the schedule is so intense, and then you're doing performances into the night and then through the weekend, and then all of a sudden final performance, cast party, and then it's gone. All of that intensity is gone. All of that, everything that you were doing, and you'll find yourself walking around quoting your lines from the play just to find your structure again, because you feel like you're in free fall and there's no structure to your life anymore. The thing is, you don't want to replace structure with structure. You want to replace it with busyness that's open-ended, that's creative. And so item number 4 is doing group activities as a family, so that there's no wrong answers, there's no assignments and deadlines, but it's still very productive, very constructive. And what this does is it creates a new rhythm. But the thing about this rhythm is you're not answering to external things. It's the rhythm of the family. No longer is each child on their own wavelength. They have their own schedule and their own people and their own experiences, that they have no intersections. When you do these group activities and kind of stay in motion for the first couple of weeks while you're trying to do this, go from one outside activity to the next. It might be, let's go to the library, let's go to the pool, let's go camping, let's go check out that museum, let's go visit the grandparents. But do things together. And as you do this, all of a sudden the need for deadlines and guidelines and accountability and check-in and yes, you're right on target, or no, you're a bad kid, all of that just sort of falls away, and each individual person starts to become more in touch with finding validation through doing something productive, not from external feedback saying, yes, you're good, yes, or no, you're bad. As you do these group activities, it also tends to reestablish the healthy lines of communication and the healthy leadership of the parent toward the child, and the affection of the child toward the parent, and the harmony between the siblings, because now they have a shared rhythm. This is one of the most interesting things about homeschooling. A lot of people say, how is it possible that you can attend to the needs of all those kids at all those different ages? And how is it possible that you can just be on top of all of that? As it happens, I have seen that a lot of times large families have an easier time of it than small ones, because the siblings can get to where they nurture one another. It's not everybody taking or depending on the parent, but there's all these interconnecting relationships, this one with that one, and this one with that one, and those three with that one. And it's just a beautiful dynamic that's very organic and very healthy and very productive. So when you do these group activities as part of your family reset, it sort of reconnects that dynamic, so the rhythm of your family is more harmonious. Number 5, show restraint. Now this is sort of an interesting one. A lot of times I'm going to hark back to those questions we had at the beginning, you know, what kind of curriculum do I need? How do I get my 17-year-old to study? How do I teach my 5-year-old to read? Again, those are good questions, but at this stage of the game, I urge you to show restraint. Don't jump on the first opportunity to purchase curriculum or to sign up for a class. Step back and know that you are on it. By doing these group activities, by doing the core phase stuff, by doing the reading time and simplifying, that is your program for right now. And as you get that family rhythm reestablished, as the parental leadership becomes more natural and easily respected, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in a new place where not only are the answers different, but the questions are different. You're going to have different questions later after your family reset. So avoid the urge to spend a lot of money. And if you already have, or if there's things that you plan to buy, avoid the need to adhere to them strictly. They are not the boss of you. You are the expert on your home. If you want to use those things as a resource, absolutely do so. There's some wonderful things out there that can inform your choices and the things that you decide to do. But avoid the inclination to reproduce that conveyor belt experience at home. It didn't serve you outside of the home. It's generally something that experienced homeschoolers will say, yeah, I tried that, I moved past it. So learn from the experience of those who have gone before and skip that step entirely. You don't have to reproduce the conveyor belt, the bell schedule, everything fits into every single day. You can just move organically from one learning experience, from one healthy experience to another, and you'll find once you are in that rhythm, you're going to cover amazing things. And when you have each individual learning with a will to learn, you get a lot more done in a lot less time. And it doesn't have to look like school to feel productive. And it doesn't have to feel like school to be productive. During this time, as you're showing restraint, maybe a little less TV, a little more books, a little more library time, more on the board games together and puzzles and listening to wonderful music. As you kind of take some things and minimize their influence and amp up the ones that are really feed the mind and the soul and help people make connections, it will really feed into your goals. All right, finally, number 6, lead out. We talked before about how leadership education starts right here with me, with you. If we are leading out, if we are modeling the behaviors of a self-educator, if we are showing the values of someone who wants to improve themselves, who wants to make a difference in the world and try and be a blessing with the gifts that they have and the purpose that they were born to achieve. If we are living that kind of a life, if we are starting with whatever we have and whatever we are and just taking the next right step, there is nothing more powerful that you could share with your children. It doesn't matter what you didn't do before. It doesn't matter what you did wrong before. If you start right now and show them what it means to make deliberate change, to seek your goals deliberately, they will internalize that as a value. That's what it's going to look like in their mind to be an adult, to be a mom, to be a dad. They're going to look at that model and say, wow, someday I'm going to study, or someday I'm going to know how to do hard things, or someday they're going to look at that and say, that's what it means to be a person of character. That's what it means to live a life with meaning. And with that thought in mind, I just want to share with you something that I hope will stay with you, and it's this. Remember that an investment in your education is not a withdrawal from your children's education. It's exactly the opposite. It's an investment that pays dividends in your children's education over generations. Now, once these 6 things are in place, you're going to start to notice some little teeny positive changes. Your 13-year-old might smile a little more. Your 10-year-old might be more polite to the younger ones when normally he might have been snappy. You're going to start to relax and see that learning is happening all the time. So before I end, let's just do a quick review. The first point in the family reset is to simplify. Number 2 is family reading. Number 3 is core phase fun. Number 4 is group activities. Number 5 is show restraint. And number 6 is lead out. Now, before I end, I just want to say, please be kind to yourself. I know a lot of new or struggling homeschoolers that are really hard on themselves, and they feel like they are just coming from behind and they're never going to get it right. They don't know how to give up, and they can't give up, but they just feel like they're never really going to achieve their ideals. Please don't feel that way. I've seen so many situations where the impossible happened. So many you wouldn't even believe. If you would like to join us on our TJEd discussion group on Facebook, you will have connection with literally thousands of others who are in the same path as you, and you will find from their experience that this is a doable thing. If you start where you are and take the next right step, you are going to see incredible changes, powerful changes. No matter what your challenges, no matter what your deficits, by doing this, the next right thing, you're going to be on the right path, and your children are going to be on that path with you. Please know that pretty much every successful homeschooler that you've ever seen from the outside, looking in, started out in that place where they wondered and wandered and didn't know if they were going to get it right. We all feel that way. Parenting is complicated. Parenting is challenging. It can be overwhelming. That's just the gig. It's not because you homeschool. You have the care of these lives in your hands. That's big, and it should feel big. It's important, but that doesn't mean you're going to blow it. You put these principles in place and let this family reset start to take action, and you're going to see great changes for the better. Now, in our next video, we're going to talk about the phases of learning, and you're going to see how it all sort of dynamically fits together, and you get that prize of a young adult who is ready to take on the world, who is a person of character and competence, and who knows how to have healthy relationships and take on challenges. So, see you on the next video, the phases of learning.